Okay, here I am setting up my tent. I've sped this up 8 times. I just bought this tent. I set it up at home once just to figure out how to set it up so I wouldn't be doing it totally cold at camp. So I still wasn't real experienced setting this tent up since I only did it one time. It's a 6-man tent supposedly. I don't think there's any way you can fit 6 men in there, especially with gear. But the reason I bought that size tent is I wanted a tent that I could stand up in without having to stoop over. And this tent is it's 6'1" or 6'2", and I'm 6'0" tall, so I can totally stand up inside this tent, which I like. It was a real chore trying to hammer in those stakes. The ground here, as you can see, it's really heavily compacted and full of rocks. It's like gravel and dirt mixed together. And so putting those stakes in was a real job. So one mistake I made, these long flexible poles, they crisscross the tent. You have to put them both in while the tent's still on the ground before you start to raise it. And I put one in and then started to raise it and realized I had to let it back down to put the other flexible pole in. So you'll see me here. I realized it right there when I was looking, but I went ahead and tried it anyway, realized it wouldn't work, and then lowered it and put in the other cross piece. So normally, just about any tent requires 2 people to set it up, and so setting up a tent by yourself is a little bit on the tricky side. But I managed to do it. Alright, put some of the finishing touches on it. Get it all squared up and tightened up. And that's the tent. And the last thing to go on is the rain fly, which is sitting over there on the right. And it just covers over and stakes down and keeps the rain from coming in. And there we are. Okay, the tent's set up. Got our air mattress inflated, got the sleeping bag on it. Very roomy tent in here. All kinds of space. We're ready to sleep tonight. But first, we got to make a fire and cook some food. Alright, first morning at the campsite. I just finished breakfast and cleaned up. There's a wood pile. There's the fire ring. Picnic table. There's my tent over there. All I needed to do was boil some water for breakfast. I had oatmeal and coffee, so I just brought out the Coleman stove for that. Didn't want to build a campfire this morning because I have to leave to go on my railroad trip, and I can't leave a burning fire, so I'll build a fire tonight and fix my steak. So I had a good night's sleep, and we are way back in the woods. I didn't hear a sound all night except the hoot of an owl. Glad I was inside my tent and not outside my tent when I heard that owl. Oh boy, here's my messy bed that I haven't made yet. Got up this morning, and wow, that sleeping bag is good. It was cold this morning, during the night. Very, very cold. I have no cell service, no internet access, so I can't get out. I'm totally isolated here. So my phone couldn't give me a temperature, but I know it got really cold last night. And I'm glad I had to have this sub-zero sleeping bag and also an extra blanket to go with it. So last night, my first night here, I didn't have a great amount of luck building a fire. Everything is just soaking wet. There's been so much rain. I got a fire started, but it wasn't a rip-roaring fire. It was just barely smoldering. The wood was so wet it was smoking like crazy, and it was sizzling like something was frying in the frying pan. That was all the water inside the wood boiling out. But I was able to make a fire well enough to cook me a hamburger and brats for dinner last night. There's my grill grate that I used. That's from one of my old gas grills at home. I brought that along with me. So tonight we're going to try to get a better fire started so I can cook my steak, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, after a day of going to a cave on a trail and then riding a train, we're back at the campsite. It's 5:20 in the evening, and I'm going to get a rip-roaring fire going today in order to cook my 1-pound T-bone steak. We're going to build a big fire, and then we got to let it all burn and die down into coals and embers, because we really don't want to cook on open flame necessarily. It's much better to cook on embers and coals. So we're going to get that started now and give it plenty of time to burn down. So you see I've got my trusty Glock hat on today here in the woods, all alone. First time I've been camping solo without going with anyone else. So I was a little concerned about safety and security, but the owners of the property assured me that it's safe. The only wild animals to contend with, she said, is coyote. She said there has been non-venomous snakes identified a few times, not real often. Now last night the only thing I encountered, all the birds were chirping all the way up until close to sunset, and then it just went totally quiet. No bugs, nothing, no crickets, just total silence. But somewhere in the middle of the night I heard an owl hooting. And if you've ever actually heard in person the hoot of an owl, it's pretty eerie. And I was glad I was inside my tent rather than outside at night. You sure don't want to have your head attacked by an owl. Although human attacks by owls are not common at all, actually probably rare, but it does happen on occasion. So, and then to protect myself against coyotes or anything else, I got the Glock hat, but I'm not carrying my Glock on this trip. I'm carrying my trusty Smith & Wesson. It's a M&P 45 Shield, and it is, of course, by its name, it's a 45 caliber handgun with an extra magazine in my pocket here as well. This utility vest, I can carry all kinds of goodies with all these pockets. So that's what I've got for protection, but I don't anticipate that I will need it on this trip, and certainly hope I don't. So we're going to go ahead and get this fire started. What I've done here, let me turn the camera. Okay, I've already got it somewhat pre-started. I've got my tinder, which unfortunately there's no brown grass or anything here for tinder. And so the only thing I could gather up for tinder was some dry leaves, and that was hard to find because we've had so much rain. Everything here is just soaking wet. And that's why I had difficulty last night getting a fire started, but we're going to get one started tonight. I got one started last night, but it was just a small fire. In order to cook this 1-pound steak, we need a good rip-roaring fire. So I've got some dry leaves at the bottom for my tinder, and then I've got small kindling wood, some real small kindling, and then on top of that is larger kindling. and we're going to get that started. And once that starts, then I've got heavier wood. This is some leftover from last night, and then we've got some nice big logs here. Once the fire gets started, we'll throw those big logs on the fire and then let that burn down, and then we'll do some cooking in a bit. So let's see if we can get this fire started. I'm going to use a 1 wooden match. There we go, and let's get this started. And it looks like that is working. Okay, we're going to have us a good fire tonight. I'm going to go ahead and throw on this partially burned leftover wood from last night. Let that just finish up burning. Okay, we're going to let all this catch and burn, and then once all that starts burning good, we've got this good fresh wood to throw on top. So I'll pause the video for now. Okay, the fire's still been a little stubborn. The wood's still wet, as one of those big logs was burning from the bottom. I could see water oozing out of the top. That's how wet it was. But with a lot of poking and prodding and tending to the fire, I've kept it going, and we're starting to get a good bed of coals, embers down at the bottom of that. And as the rest of these logs here on top burn down, we'll be able to get our steak started. Okay, here's what we're having for dinner. That's slightly over a 1-pound T-bone steak. We got a baked potato we're going to cook in the coals of the fire. We're going to boil an egg and boil some corn, and we're going to boil that since doesn't need any smoke flavor since it's going to be boiled. So we're just going to heat that up on the Coleman butane stove. I got a can of baked beans here. And I got a bunch of vegetables I'm going to grill on the fire. There's onions, mushrooms, tomatoes, and green peppers. And they've been covered in vegetable oil. So those should cook up nicely. So we're going to have us a full course dinner here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to season the steak with, I got a bunch of stuff, salt, pepper, garlic. And then I have some steak seasoning, and I'm not sure what else. So I'm going to pause this and then set the camera up so you can watch, and I'm going to season the steak. And here's our campfire over here, burning down very nicely. You can see some of the red hot coals in there. And by the time I get the steak seasoned and get the corn and boiled egg on the stove, I should be ready to throw the steak and baked potatoes and vegetables on the fire. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, here we go, seasoning the steak. First I'm going to use some salt on the first side. We've got some pepper. If I can get it open. This is hard. Come on. There we go. A little bit of pepper. A little bit of garlic powder. I like garlic. Garlic makes anything and everything taste better. And let's see, here's some salt-free steak seasoning. Let's go ahead and use some of that. Pour some of that on there. All right. Anything else we want to use? Ooh, here's onion powder. Let's put some onion powder on it. And I think that's going to be it. No, one more thing. Paprika. Little paprika. Then we're going to spread a little oil on that so it'll sizzle nicely on the grill. Let's rub that in. Yeah, all right. There's the first side. Let's flip that baby over and we'll do the same thing on the second side. Not necessarily in the same order. Onion powder, garlic powder, salt-free steak seasoning, salt, and pepper. Okay. And while we're at it, why don't we season our vegetables too? We don't want bland vegetables. Let's not forget the paprika on the steak. There we go. Okay. A little bit of oil. Rub that in. And the steak is ready to go. If I can find the lid, here it is. Open that up. And what do we want on the vegetables? We want a little bit of salt. Let's put some salt on there. Okay. And a little pepper. And you know what I got? I've got something different. Let's give it a different flavor than this. I have some Mrs. Dash seasoning. So let's try that on the vegetables. Let's put that on there. Oh, yeah. That's going to be so good. Okay. Let's mix that up. Looking good. Okay. I'm going to start getting everything ready to put on the stove and on the fire. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, and because the baked potato is going to take the longest, we got to put that on first and let that cook a while before we start anything else. So I'm going to try to get this buried in the embers down below and try not to burn myself. So let's move that log. And I don't know if you can see that from the camera angle, but there are a lot of beautiful red hot coals down there at the bottom. So let's stick that down there. Try to cover it up on the top if I can with some embers. I'm not sure if I'm going to be successful with that though. And I don't know if I should try picking them up with my gloved hands or not. So I think what I might do is try to get a little flame on there. Cover it up with the logs. That'll help maybe get the heat around the top. But we will be turning it over in a little while. Okay, come on. Let me use my hands. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that'll cook nicely. So we're going to let that cook a while before we start anything else, and we'll shut off the camera for now, and we'll be back in a few. Okay, the corn and the boiled egg is on, and this Coleman stove, if I turn it up full blast, it really heats up fast. It puts out a powerful flame, so that'll be done in no time. And then over here's the fire. I've turned the baked potato one time. I'll turn it a couple more times. And then I'll get ready to put the steak and baked beans on. Okay, I've got the steak on in the middle of the grill. Baked beans in a pot off to the side, and all the vegetables on the other side, and they're cooking away. So we'll let that cook and get back with you later. Well, I've turned the steak once and I've turned the vegetables once, and I'll turn them a couple more times before they're through. The beans I stirred and they're starting to warm up, so everything's proceeding nicely. Okay, dinner is done. Everything turned out perfect, except the baked potato. It actually cooked a little too long, so I was able to scrape out the center of it. It was a small potato anyway, because of my dialysis, I'm not supposed to eat potatoes. So I got a goodly amount of potatoes here. Got a little bit of char in it, but you know, when you're grilling out, char tastes good. I had boiled egg, corn on the cob with butter and salt. Look at that delicious steak. Baked beans and my grilled vegetables. Wound up having to use 3 plates to put it all on. So this is quite a meal. And then for dessert, I have some pineapple chunks. So let's take a bite while I'm on camera so you can see me take a bite and see my reaction. Let's cut us a little piece of steak here. Oh yeah, perfect for me. I like my meat cooked medium well. There we go. Look at that. Got some fat on it. That fat is going to be so good. It's cooked medium well, just perfect. Wow. That is delicious. Baked beans. Let's take a bite of corn on the cob. I love buttered and salted corn on the cob. Let's take a bite of baked potato with sour cream and butter. And salt, of course. A bite of boiled egg. And let's eat some vegetables. Oh man. Really, really good. I wish you could taste it. But the second best thing, if you can't taste it, I'm going to turn off the camera and sit here and eat it. We'll talk to you later. I'm still eating, but I wanted to show you the fire. You know, everything was burned down to embers when I was cooking, and you probably thought the fire was done for the night. But because of those red hot coals, all I needed to do was lay down some new wood, and there we go. We're going to have a nice campfire all the way through the evening, up until dark, until I decide to go to bed. And so there we go. A nice peaceful evening after dinner, relaxing at the campfire. I've got some, I guess you can hear it, I got some Gordon Lightfoot playing on my truck, and It's a gorgeous, beautiful night. Not too cool, not too hot. No wind, no bugs. That's a great thing, no bugs. And we're just going to enjoy the evening for a while before we retire to the tent and call it a night. Well, it's about 10 after 9, and the fire is, look at that, still going strong. I didn't add any bit of wood at all to it after what I added to it while I was eating dinner. And you can see all those red hot coals in there. I can really feel the heat coming off of that. I wish some of that heat would be in my tent tonight, because I don't know if it's going to get as cold tonight as it did last night, but last night was really, really cold. But I have a good sleeping bag. I actually have two sleeping bags. I've got one that's good down to 0 degrees, and then there's another one that's actually good to negative 40. So real good sleeping bags, kept me warm. Except, of course, my face was outside the sleeping bag, and my face was cold. And I actually wound up using an extra blanket that I brought and covered my head with it. So you're really not supposed to do that because of carbon dioxide, but I did it and I survived. So this is the campsite at nearly dark. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there. So that's all for now. Well, that's the moon barely peeking through all the trees. It looks like it's just slightly short of being a half moon, but the trees are blocking most of it. And as you can see, it's pitch black down here. And our campfire is still going. It's, what is it? It's about 10 after 10, I believe. Yeah, it's about 10 after 10. There's just barely a flame, so it's safe to leave it unattended and hit the sack. I'm ready to go to bed. And pretty soon that little bitty flame will be out, and it'll just be the embers burning down and out overnight. So I got a big breakfast planned, so it's going to be another fire early in the morning, and we'll be recording that and showing the big camp breakfast I'm going to have. Okay, let's head over to our tent. I got to get my lamp, if I can find it in the dark. There it is. Okay. Got the camp light. I got my water jug. And we're going to head over to the tent. Okay, let's head on in. Ooh. Set the lamp down. Set my water jug down. Okay. I'm going to start getting ready for bed. I'll see you in a couple minutes to say goodnight. Okay, we're in our tent. We're all zipped up. The entrance is all closed up. This is a nice tent. It's a little bit over 6 feet tall, so I can stand up without bending over in it. If you can barely see the roof there at nighttime. This is a nice camp lantern. It's got 3 white light settings. This is actually low. Then there's medium, and there's high, and now you can definitely see the roof. And it's also got some red settings. There's a low red and high red. And the red settings are to prevent bugs. Supposedly bugs are red colorblind, and so they're not attracted to red light. And it looks like my camera has automatically made color adjustments so the light no longer looks red. But believe me, it's that's a red light, and it's all red in my tent. Then it has an emergency SOS setting. If I can find there. And I think if I press and hold it, I think it goes to SOS. Let's see here. There we go. And that's for emergency purposes. You know, if you're in some kind of trouble, stranded, and injured or something, you can set this to SOS, and people that know Morse code and know what SOS is, they'll hopefully respond to it and help you out. And the other neat thing about this lantern is it's USB rechargeable. There's a USB port on the back side of it to let you recharge it. But it also doubles to help charge another device. So say my cell phone is getting low, I can borrow power from the lantern and by plugging in my phone, and it'll recharge the phone. So I'm all ready for bed in my pajamas, nice comfortable pajamas. My beautiful red my red sleeping bag here. There it is. And I am all set to have a good night's sleep. And we'll see you in the morning for that big breakfast. All right? Good night.